As a pirate, I had conquered the seas for many years, alongside my trusted partner in crime, Jack the Parrot. We were suddenly overtaken by a storm unlike any other. A wave threw me overboard and sunk me to the bottom of the ocean. I woke up on this mysterious island, a palm tree shading me from the hot sun. I was stranded at sea on this tiny island forever. Well, at least until I close Minecraft and go to bed. Welcome back to another 100 days video. This time around, I spent 100 days on a survival island, hardcore. I am of course playing the 1.19 update, meaning that I don't only have to defeat the Ender Dragon, but the Warden as well. Join me on this adventure as we'll try to transform a tiny island in the middle of nowhere into an incredible survival base. By the way, tell me in the comments what you would do if you were stranded all alone on an island. On day 0, I obviously spawned on an island and I went to say hello to some turtles. I actually spotted something that looked like a sunken ship in the distance, as well as a family of cows. I punched down a few trees and then I started building my little hole because there was no way I was going to stay outside all night. This actually turned out to be quite practical because I managed to get some iron as well as some coal. That night, I crafted myself an iron pickaxe and a shield, which would be very useful for day 1 because there were plenty of monsters waiting just outside the door. I planted a few seeds I had collected, and then it was time to have a look at this sunken ship, so of course I looted the chests and got a buried treasure map. I was getting a bit hungry, so I hunted down a few fish for dinner. As there were no sheep on the island, my only way to get a bed would be by killing spiders. So I went out that night to fight a few mobs, and this baby zombie really did a lot of damage. On day 2, I found this hole in the sand that was like super deep, and I have no clue why I was so intrigued by it. And after breeding some turtles for no reason at all, I decided to lure 2 cows in an enclosure because I had no time to lose in gathering the leather because I had 2 main bosses to defeat. I started working a little bit on the interior of the hole, and then I decided to go mining, so I found this pretty large cave with a bunch of monsters, and I didn't even have 1 item of armor, so yeah, I didn't feel super safe. Well, somehow it all went well, and on day 3 I was still alive, which is truly incredible. So I decided to spend the day doing something relaxing like farming, and I also worked a bit on decorating my hole. On day 4, I decided to go back to that very same cave. I killed a bunch of spiders, and I also collected enough iron to make myself a full iron armor. Yeah, sometimes making sure you won't die is quite practical in hardcore. After getting rid of the mobs that had spawned during the night, I decided to make a little path, and I also decorated the entrance of my hole with a few leaves. To be fair, I was quite silly because I was putting time and effort in making the hole look nice instead of actually building a proper house, but yeah, that's Tootsie for you guys. That night I decided to mine to diamond level, and no, it's not 12 anymore, it's like minus 57 or something, so yeah, I had to mine quite a bit. My big project for this base would be that it had the shape of a star, and like each branch of the star would have a different theme. So on day 6 I started making the outline of the star, and I got it wrong and had to do it again, which was super fun. That night I killed off some phantoms as well as a bunch of spiders, and was finally able to craft myself a bed. And here's an edit of me trying to redo the shape of the star. I mean, that was just so fun to do with an iron pickaxe, you know, with no enchants at all. From days 8 to 9, I started working on the very first branch of my star, and I was basically planning on making it like a huge crop field, which would be perfect for food as well as trading with villagers. To make this immense farm, I of course needed a lot of dirt. And I didn't have such a big island, so I was just hoping that I would have enough. For irrigating the farm, I decided to place a bucket of water every 8 blocks. That afternoon, I decided to go mining and I managed to find my very first diamonds, and I guess I was one step closer to killing the warden. I wasn't that close though, but yeah, baby steps. Later on, I actually found some more diamonds. Oh, but there was only one. Please tell me I'm not the only one who's like so excited when I find diamonds and then I realize there's one and I feel so mad. To ease off that frustration, I actually did a bit more strip mining. And I mean, by doing strip mining, you have way more chances to find a diamond vein rather than just one on its own. Quick fact on islands. Basically, there's this island in Japan called Okinoshima, and it is filled with rabbits. It may sound super cute, but the reason they actually inhabit the island is quite sinister. Basically, they were test rabbits in laboratories that have been released. On day 13, I made my way back up to the surface, killed off a few mobs that were wandering around, and I also crafted an enchanting table. I then started working on the area where I would build my actual house and not just a hole. I filled up any gaps and then I had a look at what palette of blocks I would like to be using. For the lower walls of the house, I decided to use a mix of stone, andesite, as well as tuff. On this island, the weather would change so quickly. It would be super sunny 1 second and then raining super bad the other, and it really reminded me of Ireland because it feels like it has a microclimate, like it can rain, snow, hail, and be super sunny all in the same day. On day 15, I was finally able to show off my stunning diamond leggings. And then I started making the outline for the second branch of the star, and of course, I didn't do it on the same level, so it looked really super good. On day 16, it was incredible. I managed to do the third branch without any issues, you know, that's pretty rare, you know, we have to be proud of it. On day 17, I apparently had a pet turtle named Gertrude, and she came along with me when I went to collect some spruce wood. Because yeah, I really wanted a tiny bit of spruce wood for the house, especially I love using spruce trapdoors, so yeah. By day 18, I was done with the lower walls of the house and I started working on the higher part. I used my very precious spruce wood to make a little arch, and clearly I wouldn't have enough for the entire house. On day 19, I decided to cover up the mess I'd made when I was collecting some dirt and some stone, you know, because I mean the island is so tiny, so if I already start ruining the landscape, it wouldn't be very good. I then decided to make some balconies all around the house using some oak logs as well as stairs. On day 21, I started carving out the windows in a way, and I also decided I didn't want to have like a typical door at the bottom of the house to just go in, so I decided to make a staircase going up to the entrance of the house. I then started working on the floor, just filling it up. I don't know why I was using some planks and not slabs, it's really not smart. And then I collected some birch and made a sort of archway for the upper part of my house. On day 23, it was time to find that buried treasure, so of course I jumped in the boat with my pet Gertrude, and we actually made quite a few stops along the way at some sunken ships, and one of them actually had some spruce wood on it, so I collected everything, and it truly wasn't much. When I finally found the treasure, I realized it was right next to a spruce forest. I mean, the temptation was way too big. So yeah, I actually cut down a tree, stole a sapling. It's super naughty, but I really couldn't resist, like it was too much of a coincidence. On day 24, all was well. I started placing some torches and yeah, totally handled the situation there. After this exciting morning, let's say, I decided to do a bit of farming, and I also was able to make a few bookshelves, not the whole 15, but still it was a good start. On day 25, I finally made the Nether portal and popped in. I actually got a super good spawn. I spawned in a warped forest, so yeah, pretty peaceful. And there was also a broken portal nearby, so I collected the gold. I also started killing endermen for pearls because, you know, you're never too early to start collecting these mighty pearls. Like the number of times I want to go fight the ender dragon and I've realized I do not have enough pearls, it's just so annoying. My other main reason to be in the Nether was actually to mine as much quartz as possible because it's actually my favorite way to get levels, even more than like building an entire farm from a spawner, because you don't need to find a spawner and you don't need to build the entire farm either. I actually got super lucky. There was actually a nether fortress really close by, so of course I popped in, looted the chests, and I also killed a few blazes for the blaze rods, like that I could start making some potions. On day 26, I killed off a few more endermen and I actually got my first pearl because yeah, all the other ones didn't drop anything, super good. And then when I came back in the overworld, I crafted myself a brewing stand. So my only way to get villagers would be to cure a zombie villager, so obviously I brewed a potion of weakness and I crafted a golden apple. By the way, quick fact, pirates actually rarely buried their treasure. Captain William Kidd buried his loot, but he's only one of the few known to have done so. So yeah, I'm really sorry for any treasure hunters out there, but yeah, it's gonna be quite hard to find a pirate's buried treasure. I then came across this cave and there was actually a spider spawner, so that was quite exciting. I looted the chests, of course, and then I believe there was a zombie spawner somewhere because I got ambushed by an army of zombies. So yeah, I had to barricade myself in the spider spawner and kill them off. Once I killed off the zombies with the cutest little noises, I went back up to the surface, crafted myself a diamond sword, and I finally had enough bookshelves to finish off the enchanting area. I refreshed the enchanting table with a shovel, and then I managed to get protection 4 for my chestplate, so I enchanted it. On day 29, I continued working on the other side of the house. Now that I had a little bit more spruce because I'm so naughty, well, I could use some trapdoors to decorate the whole area. As I felt bad about the spruce wood, I really tried to use it as little as possible, like only for making trapdoors and the little archways. I then moved on to the roof and I decided to use some deep slate bricks because they were nice and dark and would make a nice outline. On day 31, I continued working on the farm area, so yeah, I just had to collect a bunch of dirt, then hoe everything down, so yeah, it did take quite some time. On day 32, I returned to the Nether to mine a bunch of quartz, and I also killed off a few endermen. On day 33, the wandering trader spawned. Of course, I had to kill him, and I attached the llamas to a post so that they wouldn't constantly spit at me. I then enchanted my diamond helmet, and I was quite happy with the enchantments because I got protection 4 as well as unbreaking 3. I was now at level 26 and needed to get level 30, so I got a super good idea. I decided to go in every biome in the Nether to get the hot tourist advancement because it does give quite a few levels. And I now had efficiency 4 on my shovel, which would be terribly useful throughout this 100 days. I decided to use some lecterns for the balconies of the house, and then I continued working hard on the farm. And don't ask me why it took me so much time to just fill off this branch of the star with dirt. I don't know, I guess it was bigger than it looked. From days 35 to 36, I decorated the water sources. I also made an anvil to repair my pickaxe because I was using it quite a bit. And then I returned to the Nether fortress, not to fight off any monsters, but to get plenty of nether bricks because I wanted to make my roof completely out of it. So yeah, here's the result. I really do think that the nether bricks fit super well with the deep slate bricks. I then went back mining for diamonds, and let's take this moment to learn a tiny bit about coral reefs. So coral reefs are actually super important. So first of all, they clean the water they're in. They also act as a barrier during storms. And most impressive of all, 1/4 of all marine species live on coral reefs. I kept hearing zombie villager groans, so I dug around and I found this guy. So I brought him back home, threw a potion of weakness on him, fed him a golden apple, and simply waited for him to be cured. And there we have Joey, the friendly neighborhood farmer. On day 42, I got protection 4 on my leggings, and then I decided to get a few more levels from the zombie spawner, because yes, the army of zombies had in fact come from a zombie spawner. I actually didn't get that many levels, so I decided to return to the surface, and as it was nighttime, I killed off a bunch of monsters. At one point, I even managed to get a skeleton to kill a creeper, and I got a disc. On day 43, I started working on my house again, so I finished off the walls, and then I realized that something that could look super cool would be a tower, and if you've been watching my videos for some time, you probably know that I love adding a little tower near my houses or on my houses because, I don't know, they really do add something to the build. So obviously I wanted to have the same color palette as the house, and instead of using birch, I decided to use some sandstone, and I thought it really gave a nice effect. And for the roof, of course, I used some deep slate and some nether bricks. On day 44, I continued working on the balconies of the house, and I also did some farming and traded with Joey. By day 45, the house was really taking shape, and I actually was quite happy with it. I also came across these guys, and they truly weren't a problem. I just killed them off one by one. On day 46, I was doing a bit of terraforming, and then there was a thunderstorm, and I really didn't want lightning to hit and burn down my house, so I decided to sleep. On day 47, I finally finished the farm. Yes, finally. But the actual reason for that is I like doing several different things in a day to keep myself interested. So yeah, I just didn't want to finish off the entire farm in one day. I then, of course, fed my cows, and I was truly raising a cow army, to be fair. On day 49, I continued hoeing down everything and planting a bunch of seeds. So the best technique for that is to actually alternate the crops because they grow faster if it's like carrot, potato, wheat, rather than just wheat altogether. On day 50, the farm was finally finished. It really looked super cool. I was quite happy. And for the outline of the farm, I decided to place loads of oak stairs. Yeah, it really did look much better than a mix of deep slate and cobblestone. Once the house was done, it was time to get all of my items from my hole over to my house. By the way, here is the finished result. Please tell me what you think about this build in the comments. On day 51, I was hearing a lot of zombie noises coming from the tower, and that was actually because 2 zombies had spawned in it. Instead of having the house and the tower separate, I actually decided to make them like all in one, so I made a large hole at the bottom of the tower connecting it to the house. On day 52, I realized that my base would look 10 times better if I added like some small branches in between of the big star branches. Like instead of having the shape of a nether star, I would have like a more full star. And honestly, the fact there were so many thunderstorms was so cozy. On day 53, I started working on what we're gonna call the first baby branch. I wanted to have a different team for each branch, so this one I decided to cover it completely with sandstone. I was actually planning on building like a sort of villager area on this island, but you'll see I actually did it super late in the video. I then hopped back into the nether to mine a bunch of quartz because I really wanted to enchant my pickaxe, and the enchantment I chose was Fortune 2, and please don't do that even when you're impatient. I just wanted Fortune, but yeah, Fortune 3 is so much better, and I didn't even get Efficiency 4 with it, so yeah, it was a terrible enchantment. On the good side, I did manage to collect quite a few pearls by killing a bunch of endermen, and I got efficiency on an iron pick because yeah, I had to take Fortune 2, why did I take it? Nevertheless, I managed to get infinity on my bow as well as power 4, so I was really delighted. I made the most of my awesome bow by killing a bunch of monsters and therefore getting quite a few levels. On day 57, I wanted to make a warped forest theme spike. So I started off by covering the area with netherrack because I didn't have silk touch and I couldn't just pick up the nylium block, so I was planning on using some bone meal to spread the nylium. And now a quick fact on the movies Pirates of the Caribbean. Did you know that the Pirates of the Caribbean series was actually inspired by the Disney theme park ride of the same name? And then, when it was renovated in 2006, the character of Captain Jack Sparrow was added to it. And Johnny Depp will really be missed as Captain Jack Sparrow now that he won't play in any more Pirates of the Caribbean. From days 58 to 59, I returned to the Nether to get way more blaze rods because I was planning on fighting that Ender Dragon really soon. Oh yeah, and I actually put some torches around the spawner, thinking that, you know, the blazes wouldn't spawn, but I was in the Nether. Oh my god, Tootsie, how silly can you be? Once I had more than enough blaze rods, I went back outside to mine a bit of quartz because I was at a very low level because I had repaired all of my tools, and I also encountered quite a few ghasts, but honestly with my power 4 infinity bow, they had no chance against me. Soon enough, I finally regained my 30 levels and I returned to the overworld to continue working on my warped forest. I hadn't slept in a while, so I was able to kill off a few phantoms for the membrane, and I actually came across a zombie villager. I did actually struggle to lock him in, but once that was done, I cured him. I could feel the Ender Dragon fight was so close, so I had to really be prepared. Therefore, I enchanted my boots with protection 4 because, yeah, you gotta be well protected. A must-have for the Ender Dragon fight is obviously the slow falling potion, and the potion of strength is very useful as well, especially if you want to get that fight done as quickly as possible. On day 61, I decided to enlarge my villager community, so I gave them some bread, and soon enough we had a little baby. I did forget to give them beds the first time, but honestly, who cares about losing a little bit of bread? While I was brewing some potions, I actually crafted an ender eye, and I threw it in the air and knew which direction the stronghold was. I also went to the Nether to collect a few more pearls because yes, I have actually arrived at the stronghold, missing a pearl, and felt pretty silly. Day 62 was the start of my adventure, so I set off on my boat, and soon enough I uncovered the stronghold because the eye sank into the ground. I was actually super lucky because I didn't come across any angry monsters or anything, and I found a library, so I looted the chests. Finally, I found the room with the portal. I placed the eyes. I actually did an extra eye. Yes, well done, Tootsie, but no big deal. And then I saw my shield was pretty damaged, so I decided to get a bit of iron to make myself a brand new one, because better safe than sorry. And now the Ender Dragon fight can commence. Every single Ender Dragon fight is different, and the annoying thing with that one was that I could not hit the dragon. Like, she would immediately kick me in the air every single time, believe me. I didn't care too much because I was getting better and better at shooting my bow, and with the combination of the strength potion, her health went down super fast. Ender Dragon, check. From day 64 to 65, I decided to head over to find some end cities because I really wanted to have the elytra. I thought it would be quite handy to see kind of how my island was going, and also just for traveling. It would be much easier and much quicker than a boat. I did have a small issue. I didn't have much health in my pickaxe and I didn't have many blocks, so yeah. Thankfully, I had a few ender pearls and I very carefully used them this time because if any of you remember this particular video, yeah, didn't go too well. I got super lucky because the first end city I found actually had a ship. I carefully made my way over, without getting hit and flying away too much. But once I was inside, I couldn't care less if they hit me. Quite on the contrary, it's actually pretty helpful to just be flying to the top and arriving to the chests. I was planning to go over to the end ship to get the elytra, so I had to make sure every single shulker was dead before I did so because yeah, I didn't have the elytra, so falling wouldn't be very good. Finally, the end city was looted, I had the elytra, and I decided to fly back to the portal. I didn't have any fireworks, so I had to build a super high column with all the blocks I had to actually reach the portal, but thankfully I reached it and soon enough I was back by my bed in the overworld. When I came back, I had two main goals left to do. First of all, I would like to finish my base as I want it to be, and second, I had to defeat the warden. I managed to get a villager to trade me some mending books, so I was able to put them on my helmet, my boots which had the best enchants, as well as my sword, my pickaxe, etc. I then crafted some fireworks which would be pretty practical for the elytra, and I also decided to do my interior decoration, so it's pretty simple, just pots, barrels, lanterns, but yeah, it does the job. By the way, tell me in the comments if it would interest you that I make a tutorial video on this house so it wouldn't be exactly the same. I would try and improve it and make it even better. So let's talk a bit more about islands. Greenland is actually the world's largest island that isn't a continent. For such a large island, Greenland only has a population of around 56,000 people, making it one of the least densely populated places in the world. I mean, talk about having some privacy. This can be explained because most of Greenland is covered by a sheet of ice. Oh, and a fun fact, 1 in 6 people on this planet live on an island. So if you live on an island, please tell me in the comments, I would love to know. It might sound crazy, but actually Britain is an island, Ireland is an island, the Philippines are composed of loads of little islands, so yeah, I guess this number is truly believable. On day 69, the house was finally accomplished. I had done like a cute little terrace with some tables, and I even made myself a cozy bedroom. I killed off this wandering traders and I actually decided to have the llamas as guard llamas, because I didn't have any dogs and I thought it would be quite funny to have them at the entrance of my house. I named one Walter and the other Jesse. I now had a pickaxe with silk touch, which meant I could mine netherrack with the nylium on it, which would make things really much easier. I also decided to go mining for some ancient debris and I actually found quite a bit. The nether waste biome is meant to be the best, but I didn't find any ancient debris there and I found some in the basalt delta biome and in the warped forest. I was frantically mining at some ancient debris when I realized, Tootsie, you have an entire island to finish, so I went back into the overworld, smelted my ancient debris and totally forgot about it, and then I moved on to continue working on the warped forest. Quick fact on a very interesting island. So you've probably heard of a man-made island in Dubai called the Palm Jumeirah. One of the most impressive engineering facts on this island is that no steel or concrete was used to create the base, only rock and sand. Another thing that is truly incredible with this island is the cost. It reportedly costs $12 billion to make. Now that I'd finished off the branch with netherrack, it was time to add the nylium. I didn't have much bone meal to start with, so I thought the best thing would be to go to the Soul Sand Valley because you get loads of fossils everywhere and I could get a bunch of bone meal from it. I then returned in the overworld to just bone meal everything, and honestly I should have waited to get Silk Touch. It would have been much quicker, you know, just to place directly a nylium block rather than doing this, but oh well. That is actually what I decided to do in the end. I removed all the netherrack and replaced it with nylium. As I'm mining fossils, let's do a quick fact that has a little bit something to do with it. There is actually a species still alive today that is considered to be a living fossil. It's called the Nautilus, and it appeared about 265 million years before the first dinosaur. And it's actually super fitting with Minecraft because guess what the drown can drop from time to time? A Nautilus shell. Once everything was accomplished, I decided to continue working on the villager area because, you know, I'd started it earlier on in the video and totally forgotten about it. I also removed all the horrible cobblestone and deep slate with some oak stairs. As I had bred quite a few villagers, cats were starting to spawn and I saw this lovely little kitty cat. I couldn't resist taming him, so I went to get some cod and then I had to try and find him again. And finally, I tamed him and I named him Harold. I actually placed him in front of my house just to avoid having too many creepers around. I then worked a bit on the area around my house, so I replaced all the sand with some grass, and I also bone mealed everywhere, you know, to add a few flowers and all. On day 77, I thought it would be a great idea to have one of the areas of the star to be a kind of mossy island. So as I didn't have many moss blocks, I actually covered the area with some dirt and then I would put a moss block, bone meal it, and then I had loads of moss everywhere, some azalea trees and all. It really looks super cute. I also decided it would be a good idea to have a branch that was basically a huge sugarcane farm. I mean, I could trade loads of paper with the villagers. It would be really practical. On day 78, I finished off the lush area and, you know, made everything nice. I even actually grew a few azalea trees and they really made it look super good. I then thought about what I could do for another portion of the star and I realized I'm in the middle of the ocean and geodes are actually super easy to find in the ocean. You just have to have a look around, and I actually found one pretty quickly and I totally destroyed it because yeah, I wanted to make part of my base look like a geode. When I came back to my base, I realized that a good way to see what it looked like from above would be to have a map of it and, you know, to put the map on an item frame, and ta-da! This is what it looks like. So yeah, I didn't get it wrong. It doesn't look like a circle rather than a star, so that's already pretty good. So Madagascar is the 4th largest island in the world. And one of the very special things of Madagascar is that it is home to 70 species of lemurs found nowhere else on Earth. Sadly, 16 species have been wiped out since humans have arrived there, and that actually reminds me of the story of the dodos that had also been wiped out when humans discovered them. Another fact that really makes me want to visit Madagascar now is that 50% of the world's chameleon population is found on Madagascar as well. I mean, this island and its animal population is just so cool. Madagascar actually has very different animals compared to, you know, all the animals on the rest of the African continent because it has been isolated for such a long time. Then we also have Borneo Island, so it is actually the 3rd largest in the world and the largest in Asia. A bit like Madagascar, it is home to species of animals you cannot find anywhere else in the world. Let's get back to Minecraft now. So the second to last part of the star, I wanted to make it kind of like a bee haven. It would be like the peaceful little part with bees flying around, flowers, etc. A lot of you guys have told me in the comments that you really enjoy the facts in my videos, so here is another one. It's crazy to realize, but basically the ocean is home to nearly 95% of all life. By the way, a quick and very important disclaimer: never believe my facts word for word, and always double check the facts yourself. Even though I try to offer you accurate facts in my view, it's very possible I can make mistakes. This goes as well for everything you read on the internet and especially on social media, because there is a lot of misinformation. Always check legit sources, encyclopedias, or ask specialists. I also started working on the very last part of the base, which would be a crimson forest. I of course redid the outline that was hideous and placed some stairs instead. I also started working on the Amethyst Geode area, so it was actually pretty simple, you know. I just started with the dark outer part, then the white, and then the lovely violet. I actually would sleep less and less for two reasons. So basically, first of all, I could kill a bunch of monsters and, you know, get the levels to repair all my tools. And also I was clearly running out of time, okay? I had 12 days to finish this base, plus find the warden and kill it. So, I mean, yeah, I had to rush it a bit. I was missing a bit of amethyst blocks, and also I wanted to have a few more crystals, you know, on the area. So I actually found yet another amethyst geode. It was actually really close to the other one, and I killed off the monsters and destroyed the geode. When I got back to my base, I finished off the geode and I also placed loads of crystals. And obviously I removed this terrible deep slate that still had been quite helpful, you know, to know where I would actually do each branch. But yeah, it had to go. I decided to use the few amethyst blocks I'd left to actually make a path. I thought it made it look a bit more mystical and magical. It may seem a bit contradictory, but I decided to put my nether portal on the peaceful branch of the star. I don't know why, and I tried to pretend it was a kind of a tree stump or something, and then I placed a bunch of flowers, a bunch of saplings all around, bone mealed everything. I then went back to my house and removed all the maps so that they would update and I could see the geode in the top right corner. Once I finished the portal, I lit it up, and honestly, it really looks super peaceful, this portal. Like, even though it leads to a terrifying place, it still looks quite nice in the overworld. This sugarcane farm took ages to make, but finally I totally finished it on day 91. Well, at least all the planting, and then I took my elytra, my fireworks, and I had a look at my base from above, and honestly it was already looking super good. It's actually the favorite base I've ever done. It really looks stunning. I'm so happy it turned out like that. One thing I didn't like though was the fact there was, you know, all this water in the sugarcane farm, and I would just, you know, fall in the water all the time. So I thought it would be best to place some slabs like that. When I got all the sugarcane, I wouldn't just keep falling in each water source. Day 92 was a big day because I took the decision to release all the cows on the island. So first of all, yeah, I didn't like the fact they were just locked up. And also it really gave a bit more life to the island. I then put on my elytra and flew off because I hadn't found any deep dark biomes from where I was, so I knew I had to travel a bit to find it. I actually stopped by because I saw this pillager outpost, and locked up in a cage were 2 allays. So yeah, I've never seen this mob before. I know you're supposed to give them something, so I just gave them some planks. Like, clearly they didn't know what to do. They were like, Tootsie, there aren't any plants in the area. Why are you telling us to do that? I then took the decision to go mining until I find a deeper dark biome. And after quite some time of mining, I actually came across this geode that had these lovely little vines. They really look stunning. At that point, I knew I'd found the deeper dark. So I set to work and I made a small little warden trap, just hoping it would work because I've never fought the warden. So yeah, this was a bit of a shot in the dark. And once the trap was done, I made as much noise as possible. I was jumping everywhere and I couldn't figure out why nothing was happening. So I looked up on internet what to do. And basically a 𝓞𝓼𝓲𝓬 has to detect your movements. So I had a look around And soon enough I found this mighty 𝒞𝓃𝓉𝓶, so I built the trap once again. It's actually super easy, just a hole with a few trapdoors. I then gathered up all my bravery and ran onto the 𝒞𝓃𝓉𝓶 3 times. It was terrifying to see everywhere, you know, all dark and all, but I thought, it's day 93, if I die, it's okay, I guess. Suddenly, the warden appeared and he hurt me so bad, he made me fall in the trap I'd made for him. Thankfully, I made it out alive. This was so scary. I lured the warden in the trap, and once he was in the trap, he actually hurt me so bad once again. All I had to do now was stay 19 blocks away for safety and just shoot and shoot and shoot at this warden. And I did miss my shots so many times. On day 94, I arrived safely home. It was really misty and raining, and I decided to work a bit more on my sugarcane farm because, yeah, I had a lot of slabs to place down. I also started working on the Crimson Forest, just placing loads of netherrack blocks everywhere. Guess what? I had forgotten all about the ancient debris I had. So yeah, I actually turned it in netherite and upgraded my helmet after defeating the Ender Dragon and the Warden. Very smart. On day 95, the weather was much better and I finally finished off this sugarcane farm, and it actually looked pretty cool. I mean, it's quite a big farm. It was now time to work on the villager island. I mean, I'd started doing it like so early and never continued, you know, so yeah, I had to get the villagers out of their hole in the ground. So I made a little area that would be a farm, you know, with a few cows. And then for their little house, I decided to use a very similar design to my big house so that they would actually fit together. So of course I used some spruce trapdoors because I really like them, as well as some birch. And for the roof, I used some deep slate bricks as well as some nether bricks. As I had gotten millions and millions of wandering traders to spawn on the island, I also had a bunch of llamas, so I decided to bring a few llamas in with the cows on the villager area. Once the villager area was done, I put some beds in and released the villagers. They were actually super confused, like only the farmer came along and all the other villagers became librarians because all my balconies were made out of lecterns. I then headed back to the Nether with my silk touch pickaxe and my elytra to mine a bunch of crimson blocks. And when I was returning back home, I actually didn't shoot my fireworks properly and I fell straight in some lava. So yeah, that definitely freaked me out. You can see I'm not a pro with the elytra, but luckily enough I managed to escape my death. On day 98, I worked hard on the Crimson Forest, and on day 99, I was almost done. And basically, there was this cow and this villager that really wanted to be under it. But I decided it would be best for them to actually live on top of the island rather than underneath. Once I had placed down all the netherrack, I bone mealed everything to make it nice, and I also bone mealed some mushrooms to make some of these mushroom trees. After that, I was almost done. I just had to finish the roof of the villager house because they weren't mad on being all wet as soon as it rained. Finally, on day 100, the base was accomplished and I transformed my tiny little survival island into an incredible star base. I did actually have a few last minute corrections to make and just, you know, adding a few details, adding some grass, some vines, and, you know, getting rid of the stone and replacing it with dirt. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video and also the base design. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. It would really help out. And of course, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Love you!